Okay, well, for the Vikings, the day started not so well because we had this it was like a list of I don't know, like 10 to 12 things that had to happen for the Vikings to still miraculously get in the playoffs. And the first thing that needed to happen didn't happen was the Bears needed to lose to the Browns, and the Bears blew out the Browns. So that officially eliminated the Vikings from playoff contention. Uh, you know, Obviously very disappointing. But we got to play a little spoiler on Sunday Night Football. Uh, Vikings beat Dallas on Sunday Night Football 34 to 26. Tank Nazis are in shambles. Uh, but I mean, the season had been realistically over for a while, but like there's still value in these games, and you gotta the number one thing we gotta be seeing is some hope with the quarterback, some improvement with the quarterback, and look, I've been dumping on JJ McCarthy for weeks. He's looked like a capable quarterback the last couple games now, and he and he played very well in this game against Dallas. um, you know, he was good. He was good against Washington last week, but that was a one-sided game. He didn't really have to do much. This one he did. This was an actual competition for 4 quarters where he had to make plays the whole game. And he threw for like 250, 3 touchdowns. Or threw for 2 touchdowns, and then he had a rushing touchdown. Played very well. Like there were a few plays where it was like, bleh. But it's like, contrary to what the the hardcore JJ cult has been saying, the people who are on my side of the fence, the doubters, we don't demand perfection. We can understand the guy's going to make some mistakes. It's not the occasional mistake. It's the before it was the every damn play is a mistake. Now it's looking a little better. Games like this, he made a lot of plays, made a lot of good throws, and had a few mistakes mixed in there, but still overall played well. We do have to allow that Dallas does not have a good defense. Their last game, they got 44 dropped on them by the Lions. And pretty much everybody has scored on them this year. So you have to allow that, but we've seen some of these McCarthy performances. It didn't matter if it was a bad defense or a good defense; he couldn't do anything. So if you can play well against a bad defense, that's a step. That's a start. You wish this had happened earlier, but so you can still be playing meaningful games. But it started. Obviously, it looked like it was maybe going to be another disaster game right away. I think that literally his first pass of the game gets tipped and picked off. And Dallas, goes down, gets a fake field goal, and they go and score. And they go and get a touchdown, and you're like, oh boy, coming off the shutout. Now we're back to the disaster. But that didn't happen. We responded. Started running the ball, fairly well. McCarthy started hitting some throws, and tie it up. The first touchdown was the one to Naylor, where he actually both his touchdown passes were to Naylor. And they that was like one of the points. Was like, maybe this game's going to get away from you early when it's 7-0. You just had a turnover. Didn't happen. They responded. McCarthy gets the little, I believe it was a 4th and goal, the one, and they do a little fake out, and McCarthy does the bootleg, and there's nobody there, and he does a little dance into the end zone. I can appreciate the swagger, um, and and it was 17-17 at the half. Like, if nothing else, you want some of these games to be kind of entertaining, at the end here, because I mean, this is, Vikings playing 4 games post elimination. I believe that's the most meaningless games they'll have played since way back in 2011. It's been a long time since we've had so much meaningless football, but you at least want these games to be entertaining, and I certainly thought this was a fairly entertaining game. I think it was in the first half, McCarthy had that deep shot to Addison. I think it was a blown coverage, but he made the completion. Like, other team makes a mistake, you take advantage of it. That's part of the deal. T.J. Hawkinson actually had a couple of big catches in the game. For whatever reason, it's still not happening with Justin Jefferson. I don't really get it. He did have one. He did have one that got taken away by a penalty. One that would have been a touchdown, a short touchdown, but that was a illegal formation or something like that. Got taken away, and there was one, would have been a pretty big gainer that McCarthy just completely missed on him. For whatever reason, it's just not working with the two of them, and it's gonna cost Justin Jefferson his 1,000-yard season. It's frustrating. I don't understand why they can't work. They can't figure out a way to get him the ball. And ultimately, it's like, if you're scoring, if you're winning, it doesn't really matter. Like, just get it done. However, but it is frustrating because you want your superstar receiver to get his, but it hasn't worked out that way. But I think that would certainly be like the next level, maybe if we're truly getting McCarthy progression, that would be the next level. Is however you got to do it, unlock the Justin Jefferson part of this, and then you can really have a very potent offense. Although they scored 34 points, so can't exactly say they didn't have, and they scored 31 last week. So I imagine it's been quite a while since they've scored 30 points in consecutive games. But you still would like to see Jefferson in there. But I think the McCarthy people have to feel pretty happy about this performance tonight. Good performance, obviously. For Dallas, this was their season almost. I mean, they aren't eliminated, but they're like next on the chopping block to get eliminated. So say what you want about Dallas, but I mean, it's not nothing to go in there and beat them. And obviously, our defense struggled a lot in this game. We gave up, I think, well over 400 yards of offense. Struggled on the ground again. Struggled a lot as far as just covering like the middle of the field on passes. But the defense kind of stiffened up a few times and held Dallas to field goals. And you want to talk about something that is almost unprecedented. This Dallas kicker, this Aubrey. I mean, he's got one of the biggest legs in the league. He's made insanely long field goals. The guy missed 2 of them against us tonight. we used to go an entire season and not have like 2 opposing kicks missed on us total for the whole season, and we got 2 in one game from this guy. And the one in the second half, that was kind of like the swing play of the whole game, because yeah, I believe that was when I can't remember exactly what the score was at that point. I think that was when we were up. We were up 1, and they were going for the field goal to retake the lead, and he missed it. And then we go down and score and make it 31-23, and they were pretty much golden at that point. But yeah, two missed kicks. I mean, it's unprecedented. I don't know. I have to look through the history books to find out when that last happened. That an opposing kicker missed 2 kicks. We've had certainly many instances with the Vikings of our own kickers missing multiple field goals in a game. But it's crazy. And then the defense did stiffen up. They got a nice turnover on downs then after that to kind of seal it, and Will Reichert hit the long field goal to make it a 2-possession game late, which clinched the game. I mean, I wish this game had mattered. I wish this game had mattered for something. It's like, I hope the Vikings, continue what they've done the last 2 weeks. I hope they continue on and win a couple more of these games. Obviously, I hope in a couple weeks we get to maybe end the Lions season. Wouldn't that be sweet? Maybe even screw up things for the Packers in Week 18. I'm vehemently anti-tank. So I will never in my life be one of those fans who wants to tank the end of a season or a whole season or any amount of the season for a draft position. I always will prefer winning games. I don't care what the situation. People can disagree because they're obsessed with drafts. I mean, I thought for years, like, there are people out there who would rather, have a high draft pick than have like a NFC Championship game run or something like that. They really would. But I think the most important thing has been, considering the bottom, the bottom that we got to here just a couple weeks ago with that Seattle game, and then and of course the Packer game before that, and how bad it was looking. And they've rebounded and played a couple pretty good games now. Not against world-beating competition. We shut out Washington. That's not a playoff team. Beat Dallas. It's still a nice win to go in there and beat them, but that's also probably not a playoff team now. But it's just been clinging to like you give me any grain of any speck of hope for what they're trying to do and what they want out of this quarterback, and we've gotten a little bit of that. I don't care what happens the rest of the way now with McCarthy. Still, you gotta have a plan B in the building for next season. You gotta do it. You gotta have a plan B that isn't, maybe bringing back the battered remains of Carson Wentz or, some, uninspired journeyman type quarterback, But I certainly think, if we get 3 more, 3 games left, if we get 3 more performances from McCarthy along the lines of what we've had the last 2 games, I certainly think they are going to go into 2026 still planning to have him be the guy. I wouldn't make him the unquestioned guy. You gotta have that. It's gotta be a real competition for the job. But maybe this has been a disaster season. Maybe it can be worth it a little bit if you're even at the end, even if it's meaningless games, and even like last week was meaningless. We weren't eliminated yet, but come on. Our season ended with that Bears game when we lost that one at the end. Once that happened, it was all over. These have been meaningless games, but you still they're still playing. The other team's still trying. Dallas is playing for their season tonight, and you still went out there and were able to beat them. So, I wish this game mattered. Because this would have been a really, exciting win if they had been able. If this game had mattered for the playoffs. Hell, even if we still had just had that tiny speck of hope for the playoffs, it would have been exciting. But I'm glad they won. What I have to talk about is it's hard to really get into the specifics of the games because they don't at this point because they don't matter. C.J. Ham got a touchdown, that was nice. Got a couple sacks. Gink got one, and I think Grenard got one. I think we know what we have with a lot of these players, but we did of course have a couple injuries because this was the NFL Sunday of injuries. I mean, unbelievable run of injuries. I know Grenard got hurt late in the game. I think Brian O'Neill got hurt. They sat Darisaw. Like at this point, I'm like, yeah, there's not a lot of point in playing certain players and risking them getting hurt in meaningless games. But and they won this game without Darisaw. So they actually did a pretty good job pass blocking. But again, bad defense in Dallas, but they're getting paid to play, so you still give them credit for handling their business. Maybe we can salvage something from this disaster of a season with a good McCarthy finish. And I've been hard on him, but I don't know if I said it in one of these videos, but I will 100% take the L if this guy turns out to be a franchise quarterback. I still don't think he will be. I think he's shown that maybe he can be a capable quarterback, but is he, the guy who's going to lead you to a Super Bowl sometime? No, I don't think he's that, and I'm still a long way from ever thinking he's going to be that. But if that happens, I will 100% take the L. There's nothing I want almost in life more than the Vikings winning a Super Bowl. If this fucking guy turns out to be the guy who would lead us to a Super Bowl win, I would gladly, I would slam a pie into my own face just to take the L, be made the fool. When he's been as bad as he was, it's hard to hold out hope even with the young quarterback. But we'll see. I'm just rambling here. There's not much to talk about. I mean, it's kind of hard to get into doing this because these games don't matter. I wish I could be more excited about the win. I'm glad they won though. But so what else was there in the game? Anything you can talk about? Probably not. I can't believe I'm almost gone for 20 minutes with saying very little. But anyway, Vikings win 34-26. They are now 6-8. Still could, maybe finish with a winning record if they won out. And if they do win out, I know there's going to be some people who are mad about it, but I won't be one of them because, we only get so many of these, and we only got 3 of them left. until until next September. That's a long wait. We got a long winter ahead of us, and we want to go into the off season. There's going to be a lot of change in the off season, no matter what. I don't know if the last couple games and maybe the next 3 could save certain jobs, maybe of the GM, but I don't know if they're even in danger. There's definitely going to be some upheaval with the roster and maybe the coaching staff. We'll see, because this the money that was pumped into this roster and the decisions made that have led us to only being 6-8, there will be consequences for it. But just as a fan, it's nice to get some wins. We haven't had enough. It's the first 2-game win streak of the year. It's the first time all year that we've won 2 in a row. I mean, hell, last year we won, I don't even remember how many in a row, but it's nice to win back-to-back games. Next week is a fully meaningless game because at the Giants. The Giants might still be in position for the number 1 pick in the draft. So I certainly think they can win that game too. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't. And then you get Christmas Day here against Detroit. That could be the Lions' season. At that point, it would be really sweet to eliminate the Lions. And then Week 18 is home to Green Bay. Green Bay lost today. Detroit lost also. I sure enjoyed that late afternoon window, watching the Lions and the Packers lose. Chicago's back in first place now with their win. Detroit's in much bigger danger of missing the playoffs. I believe, I could be wrong, I think Detroit almost is in a position where they have to win out to make the playoffs. And Green Bay's in a little better position because of their tie against Dallas, ironically. So I don't think there's a scenario where we could knock Detroit and Green Bay both out of the playoffs. I think one of those teams is probably going to have to make it. But it'd be nice to not. We aren't going to get to knock anybody out in the playoffs, so maybe we can knock someone out of the playoffs. And we basically did that to Dallas tonight. And we got a few more games. See what happens. Hopefully no serious injuries. We don't want anybody getting hurt. Any way that carries over into 26. But quality. Sad day because of the elimination, but a hopeful day because of the performance of the quarterback. And again, make me wrong, JJ. I'm all for it. But I'm still in the camp of doubting the guy being a franchise quarterback. Maybe he can be he can hang in the league, but franchise quarterback is going to lead us to a Super Bowl. I still will have serious doubts, and nothing that happens the rest of the way is gonna change that. Maybe next year he can change my mind, but I'm gonna stop talking. 34-26 Vikings win, and how about them Cowboys?